friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I have a extra large book haul. Going to warn you that this might be an extra long video. You might want to go get a drink, maybe a snack, and come back and watch this. So I already filmed this, and that's why these are already stacked up together. So I'm going to quickly go through this stack. These were all part of what Michael gave me. And here, let me just show you. So these three I gave to her when I was finished reading them. I no longer am interested. I've read them, didn't love them. So there's Love and Gelato by Jenna Welch. This one is a young adult romance, but it's also about the main character who is kind of grieving over her grandma who died, and now she's taking this adventure in Europe, like she's going to go backpacking through Europe to kind of get over her grief, and of course she falls in love. And I'm just over young adult romance in general. If I Never Met You by Mahari Macfarlane. This was a proof that I was sent by the publisher. I didn't love this book. It's hate to love office romance, and honestly the characters were just very unlikable and I just didn't love them, so I'm gonna unhaul that one too. Then When Mr. Dog Bites by Brian Connigan. I don't remember this one at all, but I do remember owning it. I think I read it, but like I said, it's very forgettable for me, so I'm just gonna get rid of this one as well. Then she gave me not one, not two, but three Katie Catogno books. So I'm gonna start with 90s and Night Nights. This is the sequel to 99 Days by Katie Catogno. I absolutely hated 99 Days. I think it was my worst book of last year. Because it follows this girl named Molly who is back in her hometown for 99 days, and she is wondering why everyone in this small town is mad at her when she is a very unlikable, pampered little brat who cheated. Okay, so she was dating Patrick, and she cheated on Patrick with his brother, and then their sister, who was Molly's best friend, is no longer talking to her and doesn't like her, and she's like, well, why don't you like me? Well, you cheated on my brothers. Like, that's disgusting, and that's just not okay. But in 99 Days, she doesn't learn her lesson. She keeps cheating, and she keeps being a terrible human. And I have zero interest in continuing that adventure in 9 Days and 9 Nights. I don't know what happens in this book. I just know it's a sequel and it follows Molly. I think it follows Molly and Patrick in Europe, but I don't know for sure, and I really don't care. I'm gonna unhaul it. Then she also gave me Fireworks and Top 10 by Katie Catogno. So when I first read 99 Days, I actually owned Top 10 and I gave it to Michael, so this was my copy. I unhauled everything Katie Catogno and said that I would never read another book by this author. Okay, that wound is not as terrible anymore, so maybe I'll read these. This is like friends to lovers. I think they graduate from high school It follows Gabby and Ryan. Gabby and Ryan. Wow. And they always have this thing where they do the top 10 moments, top 10 everything. But it's graduation night, so they're like counting down their top 10 moments as friends. And I think maybe they fall in love with each other. It doesn't sound terrible, so I might keep it, at least for now. Fireworks, best friends, pop stars. So I think it's about these two best friends, Olivia and Dana, who Olivia is trying to become a pop star, so they go out to LA, and Dana gets found to have like this amazing voice, and it's their adventures as pop stars. And honestly, I don't care. I don't like famous characters. Not really my thing. So, no thank you. Then there's The Universe is Expanding, and So Am I by Carolyn Mackler. This is the sequel to The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things. And in the first one, I believe that she is date raped. Virginia is date raped, and it's going to be very hard-hitting. But this is the sequel to that, and I don't know if I can read them out of order or just read the second one without reading the first one. So if you've read both of these, please let me know in the comments below. For right now, I'm going to keep it because it sounds really good. And maybe eventually I'll get the first one so that I can read both. But if I can read this one without reading that one, let me know. Then Michael gave me What Will It Take to Make a Woman President? Conversations about women, leadership, and power. So it's a nonfiction about the next woman president. Girls with Sharp Sticks by Suzanne Young. This was not my copy, but I did have a copy. Mine was ripped at the bottom. I haven't read it. I think it's like a sci-fi dystopian. Some of the prettiest flowers have the sharpest thorns. The girls of Innovations Academy are beautiful and well behaved. It says so on their report cards. Under the watchful gaze of their guardian, they receive a well-rounded education that promises to make them better, obedient girls, free from arrogance or defiance, free from troublesome opinions or individual interests. But the girl's carefully controlled existence may not be quite what it appears to be. Jellybean is here. He wants to say hello. Hi, I'm Jellybean. Please like my mommy's videos, cause I'm cute. No one thinks you're cute, dude. Jellybean! Okay, and then nonfiction that I got was Arrested, Mugshots of the Famous and Infamous. So it's really just like different mugshots, like Frank Sinatra's in here, Elvis Presley, Janis Joplin, Martin Luther King Jr., Charles Manson, Hugh Grant, and it has their mugshot and then information about them. I love true crime stuff. This really intrigued me. Oh, and this was in the original pile that I was talking about. This is A&L Do Summer by Jen Blaslin. This is one that I'm going to unhaul as well. It's a young adult romance. And I've just kind of outgrown young adult romance. It's not... I usually don't even like it. I'll read it and then be very disappointed by, well, the romance, to be quite honest. So I'm just going to unhaul it. I'm done with young adult romance forever. Or so she says. Then there's Fairy Godmothers, Inc. by Sarah Anna D. Wilde. First in a new series, Spellbound meets Love Struck. If love is the source of all the magic in the universe, and the town of Ever After, Missouri, is the epic center of enchantment, then the locals are in dire need of a reboot. At least according to resident fairy godmothers Petunia, Jaquil, and Bluebonnet. Their solution: blow a bit of fairy dust in the direction of those in need of romance. What could possibly go wrong? Then I have Dating Without Novocaine by Lisa Ketch. So you follow 29-year-old Hannah, who lives in Portland, Oregon, who's having trouble finding the man of her dreams. So now she is determined to settle for Mr. Maybe. This is No Offense by Meg Cabot. This follows this girl named Molly, who was her fiance called off the wedding, and she decided to take that as a way to start her new adventure. So she moved to this small town in Florida where she became a librarian, and while she's working at the library, someone leaves a baby in the bathroom, and the sheriff, the local small town sheriff, comes and says that someone is a criminal and that they need to figure out whose baby it is so that they can arrest the person that left the baby in the bathroom. And Molly's like, no, we don't want to arrest them. You have bigger things to worry about, like the unsolved robberies that are happening in our town. And I think it's a heat to love, grumpy sunshine romance, and I'm excited for it. Then there's Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I've already started this book and I'm not liking it at all. So you follow Macy, who is getting married to a financially stable guy, but I don't think there's any romance there. And she's a pediatric nurse, oncology nurse. Or she's a pediatric nurse. And I'm sorry that they're doing that. And right now you're kind of getting today what's going on in Macy's life. And back in high school when her and Elliot were dating, Elliot is her one true love and he's back in town, but nothing's really happened, and I'm so completely bored with this book. So stop it, you guys. Stop it. Then there's What You Wish For by Catherine Center. Honestly, I confused this with the firefighter one, What You Save in the Fire, What You Save in Fires. But this one does sound pretty good. Samantha is a school librarian who loves her job, the kids, and her school family with passion and a joy for living. But she wasn't always that way. Duncan Carpenter is the new school principal who lives by rules and regulations, guided by the knowledge that bad things can happen. But he wasn't always that way. And Sam knows it because she knew him before at school in a different lifetime. But then she loved him, but she was invisible. To him, to everyone, even to herself. She escaped to a new school, a new job, a new chance at living. But when Duncan, of all people, gets hired as the new principal there, although it feels like the worst thing that could possibly happen to Sam, it feels like the best thing that could possibly happen to the school. Until the opposite turns out to be true. The lovable Duncan she had known is now a suit and tie wearing, rule enforcing tough guy, so hell-bent on protecting the school that he's willing to destroy it. I think it's gonna be like opposites attract, romance, hate to love again. But I don't know. I don't know if it sounds really good because it sounds really good, or if it sounds good because of the teacher in me and like saving a school. And yeah, I just am super excited for this. And then we have True Crime Story by Joseph Knox. What happens to all the girls who go missing? In the early hours of Saturday, December 17th, Zoe Nolan walked out of a party in the apartment where she's been living for 3 months. She was 19 and a student at Manchester University. She was never seen again. The next few I might have already talked about in a different haul. I can't entirely remember, so I'm just going to go through them really quick. I might not tell you much about them, but that's okay. So there's The Better Sister by Alfred Burke. This is about twins who are very opposite in personality, and one wants to take over the other's life, I think. The Hunting Wives by Meg Cabot. I'm actually very afraid of this book because I've heard it compared to Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, and I'm on, I didn't like that book. Follow Me by Kathleen Barber. This is about this social media star who really likes getting all the follows and subscribers and stuff until one of them actually follows her home. So there's like a stalking element, and it sounds good. And then these three were sent to me by the publisher. There's Love, Hate, and Clickbait by Liz Bowery. This came out April 26th, and I actually got it on release day, but I haven't read it yet. Follows Tom, who's a political consultant for Clay, who is trying to become the governor of California. And I think it's Hate to Love, male-male romance. I'm scared of this one because I don't really like political books. I'm not a very political person. So, I don't know, we'll see. Into Every Generation, A Slayer is Born, How Buffy Staked Our Hearts by Evan Ross Katz. This is a nonfiction behind the look of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I used to love Buffy, so, just a nostalgic read for me. And then I'm the Girl by Courtney Summers. This comes out in September. And I think it's a young adult thriller in which Georgia finds a dead body of a 13-year-old girl, and I think her name was Ashley, but Georgia and Ashley's sister team up to investigate and see what happened to her and how she died. This is Girl 11 by Amy Suter Clark. I don't know a lot about this. I just know it says a novel of suspense. I thought it was a thriller with a podcast element. It follows this woman, Elle, who used to be a social worker, and she quit social work to become a full-time podcaster, and now she investigates murdered and missing children, so it's going to be hard to read, but I'm hoping that's a fast-paced thriller. So let's take a jelly bean break, okay? This is Jelly Bean. This is his show. At least he thinks it is. It should be all about him. Next up is A Nearly Normal Family by M.T. Anderson. This follows a family that is going through kind of a tragedy. I would say it's a tragedy. So the 16-year-old daughter, Ellie, I don't think it's Ellie, 18-year-old Stella is being convicted or on trial for murder. They think that she murdered this old businessman. What reason could she have to kill him? And you get perspectives from the mom, the dad, and Stella maybe her brother too, but it sounds like a family thriller, and I am so intrigued by this. Then there's Size 12 is Not Fat by Meg Cabot. You follow Heather Wells, who is a pop icon, pop diva, and then she basically gets outed by publicity stunt by the paparazzi, saying that she's a size 12, she can't be a pop star because pop stars can't be fat. And just so you know, size 12 is the average of American women. That's the average size. So I don't really think size 12 is fat anyway, but you know, I'm hoping that this is like body positive, and I'm always looking for a new body positive type of book. So then there's going to be like a sprinkle of romance in here. Then we have Playing with Matches by Hannah Ornstein. I've read Head Over Heels by this author, and by the way, I would love to own it. I just don't own it yet. But this follows this woman, Sasha, who is a matchmaker, but her own personal life is kind of going up in flames, hence Playing with Matches. And she kind of thinks that she needs to get married like quick so that people will trust her as a matchmaker and not just, you know, oh, well, you're single, what do you know about matchmaking? And it's supposed to be funny and maybe have the fake dating trope. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I think it's like a fake marriage, but I don't know for sure. I haven't read it. Then there's The Murder Game by Carrie, Doyle. Want to come out and play. Luke never wanted to get caught up in murder. When his roommate Oscar convinces Luke to break the rules and sneak out of their boarding school dorm one night, it sounds like fun. Ooh, I love boarding school type of dark academia, maybe? They'll meet up with a couple of girls in the forest, have a good time, and no one will ever know. But then the wife of one of their teachers is found dead in the woods the next morning. Luke realizes they're in deep trouble, and Luke and his friends investigate what happened to this teacher's wife. So this was another one that Michael gave me. This is 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. I recently, like this year, read Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. I hated that book. I haven't read anything else by Sally Thorne, although I think she wrote The Hating Game, and supposedly that one's supposed to be amazing. Haven't ever read it, so I wouldn't know. But this is like like a renovations, like a home renovations love story. So I think that her name is Darcy. And Tom. Okay, so Tom and Darcy. So Tom is Darcy's twin's brother's best friend. So he's always been like off limits to her. And then when Darcy and her twin inherit this house, Tom comes to help renovate this house. And I think that sparks fly between Darcy and Tom. So there's Love and First Sight by Josh Sundquist. I finally okay. So honestly, this one is probably one that I would unhaul, but it has a blind main character who is, I think it's more of like his coming of age story, and he gets this operation so that he can see, and I want to read it for that. I don't really care about the young adult romance aspect, which I think is a bigger portion of the book than the blind portion. Then I accidentally got 2 copies of The Girl from Widow Hills by Miranda. I'm probably going to keep the paperback and haul the hardback. I prefer paperbacks. Adrienne, I think, was 6 years old, and she kind of got swept away in a storm, and everyone thought that she was going to die. She was missing for a few days, and they found her alive and well, for the most part. And now it's 20 years later, and she has a different name, but she's going to go back to her small town. She's going to go back to her small hometown because I think her mom is sick, and she wants to take care of business and, like, help her mom out. And when she gets there, kids start going missing again. This last bag, which has a few books in here. So there's On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. I read The Heat You Give and I enjoyed it for the most part. It's sad that that's like a true testament of what is going on in the world these days. And it's sad that reading The Heat You Give, I felt like that is something that could legitimately be happening in this world. And it just made me so sad to read that book. This one is supposed to be hard-hitting as well. I think Angie Thomas only writes hard-hitting books, but this follows a rapper. So it's going to be another hard-hitting, make me cry my eyes out type of read. Then we have This Is How It Always Is by Laurie Frankel. This is Claude. He's 5 years old, the youngest of 5 brothers, and loves peanut butter sandwiches. He also loves wearing a dress and dreams of being a princess. When he grows up, Claude says he wants to be a girl. I feel like this one is going to break my heart, but I do really want to educate myself and read more from like trans or just the LGBTQ community in general. Then there's Pretend She's Here by Luann Rice. I don't really know much about this. I think that it's about this girl named Emily, whose best friend died a year ago, and now she's like, it's her grief and everything. Michael has a copy of this book, so we're going to buddy read it at some point, but it's going to be hard-hitting and hard to read again. There's Darling Girl by Liz Michalowski. This is like a Peter Pan retelling. In this beautiful reimagining of J.M. Barrier's classic, one woman must take on the infamous Peter Pan, who is not the innocent adventurer the fairy tales make him out to be, to save her daughter's life. Oh, okay. Life is looking up for Holly Darling, grandmother of Wendy. Yes, that Wendy. Okay, Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. I read this is the second in a duology. The first one, I don't remember what the first one was called. But the first one, I don't own it anymore because I liked it, but I just don't see myself rereading it. But since I found this one at the thrift store for $3, I decided I had to give it a shot. I think this is a female-female romance, and Flora is like not your typical princess. She snorts and she's messy and doesn't have a lot of manners, and I think that she has someone teach her how to be a better princess, and through the teaching of these lessons, she actually falls in love with the girl that is giving those lessons. And there's The Inheritance of Ordia Divina by Zordia Cordova. It's honestly just such a beautiful cover, and that's why I got it. kinda. It says, the stars have shifted, the earth has turned. The time is here. I am dying. Come and collect your inheritance. So, typically I don't like inheritance thrillers, but there's something about this one that just sounds really good. And I've heard amazing things on BookTube about it. And then our last book for this haul is Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lepina. Two things by Sherry Lepina already, and I really didn't like either of them. This is it's like a family thriller again. Kind of gives me The Perfect Family by Robin Harding vibes. So I think it's this family goes on this vacation and one of them ends up dead. And I think it's written backwards, so you start where they're dead and then you kind of slowly get all the clues. So it sounds intriguing, but I'm not 100% sure I'm going to like it. It's more for like a video idea that I have that I may or may not do, but you know, now I have books for it if I end up doing that. So that was my last book. That was my larger than life book haul. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys later.